In a world that never stops talking, the real power lies in what you do when no one's watching and you're not saying a word. Everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be heard, but the truth is the loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's the quiet one who's building, grinding, evolving behind closed doors. Focusing on yourself and staying silent doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're doing the most. While others are making noise, you're making progress. While they're posting about it, you're praying about it, planning for it, and preparing to walk into your purpose with power. Silence is one of the most misunderstood strengths a person can have. See, people often confuse silence with weakness. Like if you're not speaking up, you're not doing anything. But the truth is, some of the most powerful people in the world are the quietest in the room. They've learned to master the art of silence. Not because they don't have anything to say, but because they know not everything needs to be said. There's power in moving in silence, especially when you're in the process of building something meaningful. You ever notice how people who are always talking rarely get much done? That's because they spend more time explaining their plans than executing them. But when you stay silent, you conserve your energy for the work that matters. You stop wasting time trying to impress others and start investing that time into your growth, your hustle, your grind. Silence gives you focus, and focus gives you progress. Being quiet doesn't mean being passive. It means being selective. You're choosing not to share your dreams with people who can't see your vision. You're choosing not to respond to negativity that doesn't deserve your energy. You're choosing to trust the process instead of constantly talking about it. There's a reason seeds grow underground before anyone sees the fruit. The same goes for your purpose. It develops in silence. Now, that kind of self-control takes maturity. It takes strength to not clap back when someone doubts you. It takes discipline to work day in and day out without seeking applause. But that's where the real growth is. Anybody can talk about what they want to do, but it takes strength to get up every day, put in the work, and say nothing until the results speak for themselves. When you choose silence, you eliminate distractions. You stop worrying about who's watching or who's clapping. You become laser focused on your purpose. You start to hear your own thoughts clearer. You listen to your heart. You're calling your creator, and you stop letting noise from the outside world cloud your direction. That clarity, that's your power. And don't get it twisted. There will come a time when you'll speak, when you'll share your story, when your testimony will inspire others. But that time comes after the silence, after the work, after the breakthrough, not before. People respect what they can see. And if you've been moving in silence, your results will speak louder than your words ever could. So don't be afraid to be quiet. Don't feel the pressure to post every move or explain every delay. Just build, just grow, just evolve. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's a signal that something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Let them wonder what you're up to. Let them question why you're so quiet. And when the time is right, let your success be the noise. Focusing on yourself is not a luxury. It's a requirement. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in every direction, one of the greatest things you can do for your growth, peace, and purpose is to turn inward. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean shutting people out or being self-centered. It means finally giving yourself the attention you've been giving to everyone and everything else. It's about prioritizing your development, your healing, your purpose, and your journey without constantly worrying about external validation or the opinions of others. The moment you begin to focus on yourself, everything starts to change. You stop comparing your progress to someone else's timeline. You stop trying to keep up with what others are doing, and instead, you start paying attention to your own steps. Comparison will rob you of your joy every single time. You can't run your race while constantly looking to your left and right. That's how you trip. That's how you lose momentum. But when your eyes are on your own path, your own growth, your own goals, that's when you gain clarity and direction. Focusing on yourself allows you to heal. Too many people walk around broken, hiding behind distractions, pretending everything is fine while never taking the time to address what's really going on inside. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself space to deal with the pain, the trauma, the setbacks that you've been ignoring. You begin to rebuild from the inside out, and that kind of transformation, that's the one that lasts. Because now you're not just putting a band-aid on your problems, you're actually dealing with them and growing through them. Focusing on yourself also puts you in touch with your purpose. You start asking the hard questions. What am I here for? What am I good at? What am I passionate about? And when you begin to dig into those answers, you start uncovering your gift, that thing you were born to do. And when you tap into that gift, it changes everything. Life gets clearer. The decisions you need to make get easier. The path gets narrower, but it also gets more powerful. Because now you're not just existing, you're living with intention. There's also a peace that comes when you focus on yourself. You stop chasing chaos. You stop needing drama or noise just to feel alive. You start enjoying your own company. You start being okay with silence. And in that silence, you begin to hear your own voice again. Not the voice of your critics, not the voice of your past, not the voice of your fears, but your own voice. And that voice will guide you if you let it. And let's be real, when you focus on yourself, some people will fall away. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people were only there for the version of you who didn't know who they were. But once you start leveling up, once you start locking in on your purpose, the ones who don't align will fade. And that's a blessing. Don't chase people. Don't beg for understanding. Keep working. Keep growing. Keep rising. Because the more you focus on yourself, the more you attract the things and people that are meant for you. So protect your focus. Guard your peace. Don't apologize for putting yourself first. Because the better you become, the better everything around you becomes. Your relationships, your decisions, your opportunities, they all get better when you do. And the only way to get better is to focus on you. Staying silent isn't weakness, it's wisdom. In a world that's obsessed with noise, opinions, and instant reactions, silence is your power. It doesn't mean you're disengaged or don't have anything to say. It means you've matured to a level where you don't feel the need to explain yourself to everybody. Not every situation needs your voice. Not every argument deserves your energy. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words ever could. When you choose to stay silent, you take back control. You no longer allow people or circumstances to manipulate your peace. There's a certain kind of strength that comes with knowing when to speak and when to hold your tongue. Most people think strength is in yelling louder or fighting harder, but real strength is in restraint. Real strength is sitting in a room full of chaos and remaining unshaken, because you've learned that your energy is too valuable to waste on nonsense. Silence gives you room to think, to process, and to act with wisdom instead of emotion. It keeps you from making impulsive decisions or saying things you'll regret. When you're silent, you hear more. You notice more. You understand more. People who move in silence move with intention. They don't broadcast their every move. And because of that, they avoid unnecessary drama. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. The more you talk, the more you invite opinions, doubts, and distractions. But when you keep your goals to yourself and stay focused on the grind, the results do the talking. Success doesn't need a press conference. It just needs your consistency, discipline, and silence. Being silent also protects your peace. We live in a world where people are quick to judge, quick to criticize, and quick to misunderstand. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You can choose your peace over proving a point. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth, your decisions, or your boundaries. Let them assume what they want. Your silence will frustrate people who expect a reaction, but that's not your problem. Your peace is more important than their opinion. Another beautiful thing about silence is that it teaches you patience. When you stay quiet, you give yourself time to observe, to reflect, and to learn. You stop rushing to respond and start mastering the art of waiting. And in that waiting, you get clarity. Sometimes we're too quick to speak, to defend, to react. But silence teaches you that not everything needs an immediate answer. Some things require stillness. Some breakthroughs come not when you shout, but when you listen to yourself, to your surroundings, and to God. And when it comes to dealing with people, silence is a powerful filter. It shows you who really supports you and who's just curious. When you stop talking about your dreams, watch who stops clapping. When you stop oversharing your moves, watch who loses interest. Silence exposes motives. It reveals character. It separates those who are for you from those who are just around for the noise. And that clarity, it's priceless. So don't be afraid to stay silent. Use that silence to build, to heal, to plan, to grow. Let the world talk. Let the doubters doubt. You don't have to prove them wrong with words. You'll do it with your life. And when your time comes, your results will speak so loudly that silence won't be needed anymore. Until then, protect your energy, move in silence, and keep showing up for yourself, quietly, consistently, and powerfully. When you focus on yourself, you unlock a version of you that the world hasn't even seen yet. The problem with most people is they spend so much time worrying about what others are doing, what others are saying, what others are achieving. They forget to look in the mirror. The greatest investment you can ever make is not in stocks, cars, or clothes. It's in you. Your mind, your body, your spirit. When you pour into yourself, the return on that investment is life-changing. But that can't happen if your attention is scattered all over the place, chasing approval, comparing paths, and letting distractions lead your decisions. Focusing on yourself is about aligning your energy with your purpose. It's about waking up every day and asking, what am I doing for me? Not in a selfish way, but in a purposeful way. You can't give your best to anyone else until you've given your best to yourself. Self-work is not selfish, it's necessary. You've got to put time into growing your mind, feeding your soul, building your confidence, and strengthening your discipline. Every book you read, every hour you spend learning, every moment you choose growth over comfort, that's you watering your own garden. The truth is, when you take your eyes off everybody else, that's when clarity kicks in. You start seeing what you're good at. You start noticing the gifts you overlook. You start hearing your own voice instead of being drowned out by the noise of the crowd. You stop chasing trends and start chasing purpose. You stop trying to fit in and start realizing you were born to stand out. But that discovery doesn't happen unless you're willing to quiet the world and tune into yourself. That kind of focus will separate you. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Growth isn't always pretty. Sometimes focusing on yourself means stepping away from certain people. It means declining invitations, ignoring gossip, and outgrowing environments that no longer serve you. And yes, people will talk. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're acting different. But you've got to be okay with that, because you're not trying to stay the same. You're trying to become who you were created to be. And sometimes that requires distance. Sometimes that requires solitude. That's not loneliness. That's elevation. Focusing on yourself also means taking full responsibility for your life. No more blaming circumstances. No more pointing fingers. When you own your decisions, you take your power back. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you and start building your own ladder. It's easy to complain. It's easy to make excuses. But growth demands accountability. You've got to be honest with yourself about what's working and what's not. You've got to check your habits, check your mindset, and course correct where necessary. That's maturity. That's power. And here's the beautiful part. When you truly focus on yourself, your life begins to shift. You attract better opportunities. You connect with people who match your energy. You gain confidence not from applause, but from progress. You begin to walk with your head higher, your spirit stronger, and your purpose clearer. And it all starts with that quiet decision to stop watching everybody else and start building you. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of feeling drained, tired of being lost in the noise, pull back. Center yourself, get grounded. Focus on your healing, your growth, your vision. Everything you're looking for is already inside of you. But you'll only find it when you get still enough, quiet enough, focused enough to hear what your life's been trying to tell you all along. It's your time. So don't waste another second looking anywhere but within. Staying silent doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. In a world that glorifies constant broadcasting and instant reactions, silence has become a superpower. When you stay silent, you're not ignoring the world. You're observing it. You're learning. You're discerning who's real and who's just loud. You're protecting your energy. Silence gives you control. It gives you space to process, to strategize, to move intentionally instead of emotionally. There is strength in not reacting, power in choosing peace over performance, and confidence in knowing you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You are secure enough in your journey that you don't need to announce every step. See, some of the greatest breakthroughs happen in the quiet. That's where your faith gets stronger. That's where your ideas are born. That's where your healing begins. You don't always have to tell people what you're working on. Just let the results speak for you. You don't need to explain your absence, your boundaries, or your progress. Let your elevation be your explanation. Silence isn't about hiding. It's about preparing. It's about building in peace so you can shine in power. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is hush the noise and trust the process. There's a reason why successful people value privacy. It's because not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone clapping is cheering for you. And not everyone listening wants to understand. Some people are only around to judge, compare, and compete. That's why silence is your shield. It keeps you focused on your lane and free from unnecessary drama. Every time you resist the urge to respond, to argue, to prove, you're training your emotional strength. You're choosing discipline over ego. And that's a level of maturity not everyone can reach. Silence also allows you to listen. And listening is one of the most underrated tools of success. When you're quiet, you hear what others miss, you catch the details, You recognize the patterns. You understand people better. Not just what they say, but what they mean. And most importantly, you learn to hear yourself, your instincts, your intuition, your purpose. But you can't hear any of that if your mouth is always moving or your attention is always scattered. That's why silence is sacred. It reconnects you to what matters. And let's be honest, talking too much can block your blessings. Sometimes we speak out of fear. We over-explain, we overshare, we talk ourselves out of opportunities because we're trying to control how others perceive us. But growth doesn't require validation. It requires focus. You don't owe the world your process. You owe yourself your progress. So instead of explaining your vision to people who don't see it, keep building. Instead of defending your path, keep walking it. Instead of posting every move, stay planted and let your fruit do the talking. The best part, when you stay silent and stay focused, people start to notice. They wonder what you're working on. They feel your presence even when you're not loud about it. And when the time is right, when the work is ready, when the foundation is strong, when the blessing is due, your silence will be broken by the sound of results, not noise, not drama, not opinions, just undeniable, unstoppable growth. The kind that doesn't need an announcement. The kind that shows up and speaks volumes all on its own. So don't be afraid of silence. Embrace it. Protect it. Use it. Let it sharpen you, guide you, and remind you that your power isn't in how much you say. It's in how much you build when you say nothing at all. Progress requires protection. When you're on a path to becoming better, stronger, wiser, when you're building something meaningful, you can't afford to expose everything to everyone. Not everyone needs to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, or when it's going to happen. Your dreams need a safe place to grow, and that safe place is within you. You have to protect your vision like it's sacred, because it is. It was given to you for a reason, and not everybody will understand it, believe in it, or respect it the way you do. See, when you expose your plans too soon, you give people the opportunity to plant seeds of doubt. They'll start questioning you, criticizing you, comparing your process to theirs. And before you know it, you're second guessing yourself. You were moving with confidence until their voice got louder than your own. That's why silence is necessary. Not to be secretive, but to be selective. You've got to be intentional about who gets access to your process, because exposure without alignment is dangerous. You can't share your blueprint with someone who isn't even building anything for themselves. When you stay focused and stay quiet, you create space for divine alignment. You allow your work to speak instead of your words. You eliminate distractions. You reduce interference. Think about a seed. It doesn't grow on the surface. It's planted deep in the ground, hidden, covered, protected. And during that time in the dark, it's doing its most important work. It's developing roots. It's getting strong. It's preparing to break through. That seed doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It just needs time, protection, and nourishment. And your journey is no different. There's a powerful shift that happens when you decide to prioritize growth over attention. You begin to realize that elevation is quiet. Mastery is quiet. Transformation is quiet. The loudest part of your journey shouldn't be your announcement. It should be your results. When you stay focused and silent, you give yourself permission to evolve without pressure. You remove the weight of expectations and opinions. You work on your timing, not theirs. You move in peace, not performance. Protecting your progress also means setting boundaries. You can't be available to everything and everyone while you're trying to build something significant. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. Be intentional about where it goes. Not everyone deserves your presence, your time, or your insight. You don't have to respond to every comment. You don't have to defend every move. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you're choosing to grow. Silence isn't avoidance, it's alignment. And progress that is protected will always outlast noise that is public. In the end, when the work is finished and the results start to show, you'll realize that the silence was worth it. Every quiet moment, every private battle, every behind-the-scenes sacrifice, it all served a purpose. You didn't need the world to see your process. You needed to stay true to your purpose. And when that's your focus, your elevation becomes undeniable. People will look at you and wonder how it all happened. They'll be surprised by the results because they didn't see the work. But you did. And that's all that matters. So protect your progress. Guard your vision. Respect your journey. And know that you don't have to announce what God is doing in your life. Just let the fruit speak. Let the outcome speak. Let your success be the proof. And when it comes, it won't be because you were loud about it. It'll be because you were faithful, focused, and quietly committed to the process. In the end, the real glow up doesn't come from making noise. It comes from making moves. Focusing on yourself and staying silent isn't about hiding. It's about building in peace. It's about letting your actions do the talking while you stay rooted in purpose. The people who win are the ones who stay in their lane, keep their heads down, and let the results speak louder than the noise. So keep grinding, stay grounded, and trust that when the time is right, everything you've been working for will rise to the surface. And when it does, it'll speak volumes, without you having to say a word.